Okay, so welcome back. This one will make the apple. So I'll press Shift A to create a new cube. Now I have my cube here. Again, this apple, the picture of the apple, I'm just using as a reference. I just want it on the side just so I kind of know what an apple looks like. And now I make sure that I have my cube selected and I'm in object mode. And I go into the sculpt mode. So now, once again, I only have 8 vertices because I made a new cube. So once again, I have to press Shift R, bring this down to around 0.03, and then Control R to actually create those vertices. So Shift R, bring it to 0.03, left click, and then Control R. Cool. So now, obviously I have a cube, but the apple is a circle, so I need to smooth this out, right? So I get the smooth brush, I bring the strength to 100%, and I go to work. Round out all of these edges. We're a little bit more circular, but we need a little bit more, so I'm just going to increase the brush size and just keep kind of moving my mouse around until I get a circle. And I can also take the inflate brush and just kind of, you know, move it around. Maybe make it a little bit smaller, just to kind of round out that cube. And then I want to smooth it out again. I can go down here to the smooth brush, but I will just hold Shift. So I'm kind of circular here, and now I want to make this kind of hole here in the middle. So what I'll do is I'll press 7 on my number pad, just so I know I'm looking at it directly from top down, right? Because looking at it like this, I don't know where the top is. So I press 7, and I want to make a hole. So I can go to here where it says Draw Sharp, and I just kind of make a hole here. And let me go now back out of the 3D view because now I know where the top is. And now I can just kind of bring it down a little bit. I'll smooth it out a little bit as well. And then just kind of repeat. The smooth brush is a little bit strong, so I'll just go to the smooth brush and bring it down a little bit. I'm getting these kind of holes here. I don't know if you can see it on the video, but right here where my mouse is and up here, it's kind of like points. I don't want them, and it's hard to smooth them out. So I will just press Control R again, and then I'll smooth them out, and that will get rid of all of them. So what else? What else do apples have? Well, apples kind of have almost like a flat bottom. So I'll go from the side view, and now I'll grab my kind of grab brush. I'll make it relatively big, and I'll just kind of grab the apple, pull it down a little bit. Now I'll go from the back and pull it down here as well. And just kind of play around with it like as if it's Play-Doh. And I'll also bring this down a little bit more at the top. Now, it looks a little wonky, and you don't really want your apples to be perfectly symmetrical. If it's too perfect, it won't look like an apple when you actually color it and everything. So here I'm just smoothing things out. And also at the bottom, I mean, in my picture it doesn't have it, but at the bottom of every apple, there's also another one of those kind of holes. So again, draw sharp and just kind of make one at the bottom there. And then I'll just smooth it out as well because it's a little bit too much. I'll grab my grabber brush. The shortcut for that is G if you want. And then I'll just kind of bring it up a little bit. And I'll make small little adjustments. Cool. So now I have my apple. I mean, it's not the greatest apple, but let me color it. Maybe it will look a little bit more like an apple. So again, I'll get my paintbrush. I choose a red color, a little bit dark, and I start painting. I will keep the strength at around 0.59. If you cannot see the color right away, go to the top right here and make sure the color here is set to attribute. So make sure you're on matte cap here. I think by default you might be to studio. Go to matte cap, select whichever one you want. You can select this matte cap, whatever, and then click attribute, and that should do it. If that doesn't do it, then go up here, viewport shading, then under shading, create material by pressing new. Then again, Shift A, color, select color attribute, bring color to color, and now you should be fine. So I'll just continue painting. Okay, so I have my solid color, but obviously apples have a little bit more than just one color. So I will choose like a darker color, bring it a little bit more saturated, and maybe at the bottom here, I'll bring the strength down, like very down, and at the bottom here, I'll just kind of do some shadows. I know on the camera it's kind of hard to see, but once maybe I do more highlights, it will be easier to see. So I'll start doing highlights up here. Again, I have very low strength, and maybe I'll bring like a full-on yellow in here as well. I'll bring the brush down. There, a little bit of yellow. Again, you want some noise in here, right? You don't want it to be perfect, so you don't want to just paint. You want to kind of tap your mouse and move it around. And you can obviously hold Shift and then move your mouse around to blend those colors in. Okay, in my shading, this is kind of getting off topic, but in my shading, apples are a little bit like, you know, they're reflective, right? So I'll make the roughness here kind of low and bring the specular up a little bit. And it's a little bit pixely, so I'll right click and press Shade Smooth. So it's a little bit more apple looking. And back to sculpting I go. And yeah, I mean, I'm happy with the apple. Obviously, it's not the greatest apple in the world. I guess for the final touch, I will model this stem as well. To do that, I will go out of sculpting mode. I'll just go to layout, and I will hold Shift right click to bring my 3D cursor up here, and I'll just create a cylinder up there. So my cylinder is here. I'll resize it. You know, you can go to edit mode, make it skinnier at the top, bottom, thicker on the top, maybe bevel it at the top. Right click, Shade Smooth, so it's fully smooth, and then I can bring it down. Okay, and of course this one we can also model. We can add more details if you go into sculpt mode, so make sure it's selected if you want sculpting. Once again, we have to do that Shift R, 0.03, maybe for this one it's already small, I'll go 0.1, Control R, I can start painting it. Oh, and here, the color is not being applied, so I want to make sure I go to shading, and I already have the material created with the color. So I just select that color attribute, back to sculpting, and then I just color it. If you don't want it to go directly kind of up and down, you kind of want it to bend it, you can just grab one of the grab tools and just kind of move it into place. So there is kind of an apple. I mean, yeah, it's a simple object, but you know, play around with the sculpt mode and see what else you can create. In the next video, I will create the mushroom.